Retro Seller. Retro Seller. Retro Seller. Retro Seller. Retro Seller.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Retro Seller, where today we're going to be taking a look at another handheld console. This one being a little bit unusual as far as the other items that I looked at on this channel. This one being the Neocade GB Pocket. Now I sort of stumbled upon this on Temu. Maybe I saw it through some kind of advertisement and clicked on it out of curiosity. What makes this different is that it's an emulation device that actually plays Gameboy Advance cartridges on it, which I thought was interesting. It also has 40 built-in licensed Pico games on it as well, if that's of interest to you. Now, one of the main reasons that made me curious, besides the fact that it plays the cartridges, is that it wasn't horribly expensive. I got it on Temu for $29.57. And that's pretty much where you get it if you look at other shopping sites like that, or AliExpress or Banggood, for instance. Originally, when it came out, it was $60. And I also saw it on eBay going for as high as $85. So, again, around $30 is what you would expect from it. I don't know much about it as far as its specs are concerned, but from what I could find, it has a CPU that's running at 1.2 gigahertz. Don't know what kind it is. It says it has a 3-inch LCD display. Some other places I saw said that it had an IPS. I'm not so sure about that. We'll take a look at it when we play it. Has a resolution of 320 by 240. A 3,000 milliamp battery that should get you around 6 hours of gameplay. Has USB-C charging on it and a headphone jack. It also has a micro SD slot where you can supposedly play other ROMs. Supposedly it plays like NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, things like that. Maybe even some Mega Drive games. Not sure, but we'll take a look at it, see if it works. This company also has another handheld out there. I believe it's called the MD200, which plays Mega Drive or Genesis games on it. I think that one goes for $50 or more, but we're going to focus on this one first. And so now we'll see what you get in the box, play some games on it, including the Pico games, and see if this is something that you want to add to your handheld emulation cartridge playing collection. Here is our look at the box for the Neocade GB Pocket. And it's again, a decent box, although mine did come out a little damaged. It, however, did not damage the console, so that's good at least. But here we have the front of it. It says it has 40 games. Those being the Pico games. Shows you here which colors it comes in. I got the white version. There's also yellow, blue, purple, and red. The only one that I've seen actually, other than the white, is the blue. I'm sure they're out there, however. And then on the back, it lists the 40 games, at least the screens of the 40 games. And that's it. So how about we open it and check out what we have inside. Nice little foam covering. Here is the Neocade itself, which we'll set off to the side and take a look at that next. Here is our manual for it. It is pretty much bare bones as far as instructions on it. It just has multiple languages. So we won't get much use out of that, but it's pretty much self-explanatory, I suppose. And it comes with, let's open this up. Comes with a USB-C charging cable, and that's it. And here we have the Neocade GB Pocket, and it's a decent sized screen, although I don't know if you can see it here. There is a bit of a bezel here. The build quality is nice. It's a decent plastic, and it is not a shiny kind of plastic. You can actually kind of grip this and you won't leave fingerprints on the console. And the D-pad is actually pretty good. One of the better D-pads I've seen on any handheld. The buttons, the A, B, X, Y, are decent. They're not sticky, a little bit on the clicky side. On the front, you have what to me is kind of weird. You have your L and R buttons on the front rather than having them as trigger buttons on the back. So if you have games that require you to hit these, especially simultaneously with the other buttons, it's going to be weird because of their location. You know, maybe if you're using the A button, you can also hit the R button, but you know, it's an unusual decision that they made it this way. And I'll be curious to see how that works, if at all. You have a start and select button, and you have a mono speaker in the front. On the bottom, you have your USB-C charging port and your jack for your headphones or earphones. You have a SD card slot here if you would like to add games. And then over here you have your power button and your volume control. And up on the top is your cartridge slot for your Game Boy Advance games. And that's about it. How about we play a few games, starting with the Pico, and then try out some of the Game Boy Advance games. And this plays pretty decent. So here's the volume on it. If you put it up high, as you can hear, it gets really loud. I don't even have it all the way up. And it's kind of trebly, a little bit tinny. And let's see, this I think is the lowest you can put it, which is decent enough, I suppose, though it still sounds a little off. And that's your next option. So your lowest option is this, and then your next lowest is off. So that's kind of weird. Not a fan of that. But yeah, there you go for the audio. So if you hit start and select, that takes you to this game settings menu, which is a little bit better than what you have from the main menu. So here you would exit the game to go back to the main menu. You have a save game slot and a load game slot. Let's see, save game, you can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little save slots per game. You have screen settings. One of the complaints I heard about this is that the Game Boy Advance games are a bit stretched, so you can change the aspect ratio to 320 by 213, which is closer to the Game Boy Advance screen, and then 240 by 160, which is actually a little bit too small. So this is the one that's recommended, although I'm not as much of a stickler as far as whether the screen is slightly stretched. It's not horrible. All right, I think we played enough Pico games. How about we throw in some Game Boy Advance games and play a few of those. So one thing that I wanted to try first before we play any Game Boy games is try to play some loaded ROMs that I have loaded onto an SD card and put it in the slot. And unfortunately, you click on it and there's nothing at all. In fact, it kind of freezes on the screen, which is disappointing. So I'm not sure why it doesn't work. I'm going to try in the future to maybe connect this to a computer and see if there is a slot to drop the ROMs in as far as emulators are concerned, because it does say it plays at least NES and all your Game Boys. So I loaded some NES and I loaded some Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games, and this is all you get. You get nothing. So unless one of you guys knows exactly how to do that, I, for the life of me, can't figure out how to do it. They don't give you any instructions on how to do it. So, like, add it into the comments if you know exactly how to get your ROMs to play on this thing. So that's a little disappointing. So now we're going to try and play a regular Game Boy game. This one be in Capcom's Gargoyles. So we'll put it in the back, push it in all the way. It's a little on the tight side. And when you click on it, it says no cartridge detected. Now I tried this with all sorts of regular Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games, and this is what you get. So unfortunately, you can only play Game Boy Advance games on it. That's a bit of a bummer. And the fact that you can't play them through the SD slot, that is also a bummer. Just out of curiosity, I'm also going to try one of these 99 in 1 cartridges. I believe I got this off of AliExpress, and just want to see if they will actually play on this system. Something tells me it will not. So let's try it out. Ooh, that's kind of snug. Let's try it that way. For some reason, this won't even fit in there. So I'm not going to try and force it in and break this thing, but obviously this isn't going to play because I can't even put it in. So real quick, I just want to show you a side-by-side comparison of the screens between the Neocade GB Pocket and an actual original Game Boy Advance SP. So this is the highest setting as far as the brightness is concerned on this. So there is an obvious difference, and that's how many years of 20-some years of technological advances. But just if you wanted to play the Game Boy Advance games on a better screen, that is one of the positives of this. Now we'll load up Game Boy Advance game, this one being Rayman Advance. So we'll put it in the slot. It goes in nice and snug. And click on it. As you can see, it's not playing it directly off the cartridge. So it's dumping the ROM onto the system and playing it that way. It's not an FPGA system. It is emulation. And that's your first telltale sign for those that aren't familiar with how these things work. It's not playing on any kind of original hardware or a clone of it for that matter. It is emulation. So here we are playing one last game on this because I think you kind of get the idea of how good these play. So we'll finish this off with Spyro 2 Season of Flame. See, glitch just a tad there. Well, that was our look at the Neocade GB Pocket. So I'm struggling to figure out who this is for. If you don't have a Game Boy Advance collection, emulation is probably your best bet, other than actually going out and investing in a Game Boy Advance and buying the cartridges. Emulation is your best bet. If you have a Game Boy Advance, maybe modify it if you don't like the old screen on it. If you don't feel like doing that, but you want an improved screen, this would probably be a decent option. But in the world of emulation, with what limits this has, it would probably be best just to use like a RS-36S or something like that, which could also play this and then some. The disappointments in it, as we looked at, screen could be a little bit better. There's some audio issues with the tinniness of the speaker. The volume control is a little bit weird. Not a fan of the L and R buttons of where they're located. And you know, it's not bad. So can I recommend it? If you're a collector that's into this kind of thing, sure, I am. That's kind of why I got it. And it is a nice option to have, other than maybe putting more wear and tear on your original Game Boy hardware. But other than that, I'm not so sure if it's really that good of an option with the faults that it has. I mean, the build quality is not bad, considering it's a company that sort of came out of nowhere, to me at least anyway. They've only been out for a couple years. But there are better options. So for that, I'm kind of on the fence. I'll just leave it up to you to see if this is something that you would add to your collection. All that aside, I think the thing that I'm most disappointed in this about is that it doesn't play regular Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridges on it, because that would truly expand the library on it, just as you can with an actual Game Boy Advance. It's backwards compatible. This isn't. That would be forgivable if you could actually load up ROMs on an SD card and play those games instead, since it supposedly can emulate it. But for the life of me, I can't figure out how to do that, and I don't even know if it's possible. So that's a huge knock on this thing. But other than that, that'll do it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Retro Seller. Retro Seller.